happens when you decide to inject new and creative marketing ideas into a reserved and conservative industry such as the legal industry? What if you're younger than most of your clients that you advise and you're showing them how to develop their personal brand and voice in today's digital era? This is Krista Gun, and welcome back to another episode of Womenpreneur Asia, the podcast that celebrates Asian women entrepreneurs across Asia and tells the real stories behind their journeys. As always, this episode is sponsored by Redbox Studio. Today's guest is Indian entrepreneur Bhavya Bhatt, a Bangalore-based lawyer turned brand builder for the legal industry. She runs Clause Play, a thought leadership amplification business for the legal profession in India. She had dreamt of practicing law as a teenager, and yet when she graduated amidst the chaos of the pandemic, she realized that she wanted to build an entrepreneurial pursuit. Some of the questions we asked and answered are: how does one stay authentic while growing a service business? How does legal branding work for lawyers, and where do you draw the line between voice and voice for hire? Let's get into Bhavya's story. Hi Bhavya, welcome to Womenpreneur Asia.
Hi, thank you, Krista. Thank you so much for having me.
Can you let people know where you're based and what do you do?
I'm Bhavya and I'm based out of Bangalore, India. I am a lawyer by training. However, my experiences throughout so many years has shaped me into an individual who's currently running parallels between business, the law side, the professional services side, in positioning and thought leadership management. So I started out as a lawyer. It was a dream of a 14-year-old girl to become a lawyer, and I did become one after 10 years of having that dream. But what later changed it was the pandemic, the opportunities in the field that I wanted to pursue as a lawyer. And I was open to opportunities. They came my way. They exposed me to n number of sectors within the legal industry, that is, whether it was from the legal recruitment side, whether it was from the legal tech side, whether it was working in the law firm or working outside of the law firm with an agency or independently also as a freelancer in between that I did my gigs.
You were saying that you had this dream of becoming a lawyer ever since you were 14 years old. Can you share a little bit about that?
Honestly, this was never a thing for me. So I've been brought up in Bangalore, and ever since I was a kid, I was very early on a very tech person. Like I made my first ever email address probably when I was in the 4th or the 5th grade, and I used to do coding, and my dad even got me an IBM computer when I was in the 6th grade and said, you do whatever you want to, right? So everybody in my family thought I'd actually become a software engineer or something like that. But when I was in 8th grade, I actually remember going to a friend's house, and her sister was pursuing law. And I just happened to see one of the books that was just lying around, and I saw that the book's name was Tots. And to a 14-year-old, it was very interesting because I never heard of it. So I opened the book, and I don't know, but I just started reading it. And to my fascination back then as a 14-year-old, it was just too nice. And I remember coming back to my home that day, and I told my mom, okay, I think I want to become a lawyer. And she said, yeah, we'll see, because again, you're a kid and your dreams keep on changing. But I was very fixated upon that. And when I completed my 10th grade, we were supposed to choose a stream that we wanted to study. And I very heavily said that I want to pursue humanities. Back then also, we were in a society, especially here, that looks down upon the humanities and the social sciences side of education, and mainly in the 11th and 12th. So I did fight with a lot of people to study humanities. I got into a really good junior college here in Bangalore that actually had a very specialized course for somebody like me who wanted to pursue law. And yeah, from there on, I thought I would want to become a lawyer, and I will become a lawyer. I joined law school. I was till the end of it very sure that this is what I want to do, and by the end of it, I did a couple of diplomas and courses in cyber law, and I knew I wanted to do cyber law. I wanted to become a cyber lawyer because it is the future, and data privacy and everything that I could gauge as a 21-year-old back then. This is actually how I ended up becoming a lawyer. But after pandemic, of course, things changed, and again, whatever I am now is a totally different person than what the 14-year-old saw in her. So this is pretty much how I got into the whole field of law to begin with.
And you mentioned that the pandemic changed a lot of things for you. which including the trajectory of your career, which
Yes.
before that you were all about becoming a lawyer. And I know you
Yes.
graduated from, I think, is it Lloyd Law
Yes,
College?
yes, correct.
Yes.
Lloyd.
Yeah. So
Yes.
what happened in the pandemic that made that huge decision very real for you?
I'll tell you what changed. Thing is that I was in my final year of law school. So here we had a 5-year law course. I was nearing towards the 10th sem when the pandemic happened and there was an entire country lockdown. So I did get a job, in the sense a PPO, where I would have joined after I completed my 10 semester exams and everything. What happened was that when the pandemic hit, they put a freeze on hiring. So my PPO was nowhere in sight. I did not have a job. Coming out of a private law school, your opportunities back then, right now it's a lot, but with pandemic and the fact that you had a private law school behind your name, I thought I was at a disadvantage, because honestly I used to try everything possible. I had an Excel sheet where I maintained all the companies where I applied to, anything, but nothing really happened. And this one fine day, I was just scrolling through LinkedIn and I thought maybe I should share my experience of how it is to be dealing with all of this on LinkedIn. And I've been very active on LinkedIn ever since I was in my second year of law school. So it's probably close to 10 years now. I already had a sort of a personal brand on LinkedIn. I knew that people were following me, people liked what I wrote. I was very proactive back then, even in the pandemic. So I wrote my experiences. I said, you know what? I'm going to pivot from here. I'm open to any opportunity that comes my way. It is one such opportunity that I got as my first job. It was in the field of business development and marketing and sales for a legal tech startup. Now, for a lawyer who always envisioned to be a cyber lawyer, yes, this was certainly a road that I never thought I would take, but I was desperate for a job, honestly. I was based out of Bangalore, so I did not want to move out of the city. I had opportunities in Delhi and Bombay, but I wanted to be in Bangalore because, again, it was a pandemic, everything was very uncertain. I did not want to leave home, my family, at least for that time being. So I took up that opportunity. It was a remote opportunity. I told the founder, I don't know anything about BD. What is BD? I'm a lawyer, but what do I do here? And then she said, I'll teach you everything. She herself is a solicitor based out of London. So she said, I'll teach you everything. I said, okay. 7 to 8 months of working with her, it literally changed how I saw my career. I realized, oh, okay, this is amazing. I think I would want to do something in this. Stay close to my industry as a lawyer, but also not just stick to the one conventional thing that law school teaches you, either to get into a corporate job or get into a law firm or get into your practice as an advocate or get into judiciary. So this was something that opened doors for me, and pandemic changed my career. I think had it not happened, I probably would have been in a proper corporate law job, but I don't think I would have been here.
That is a story. From looking for a job to being a business development person in is it a tech startup? Was it a tech startup?
Yes.
And then you started to love the job.
Expanded to legal tech. Absolutely.
And
yes,
and then you started loving it.
Okay, so I was 7 to 8 months in that job, and my work mainly had to do with a lot of cold approach, cold call, cold mails, and all of that stuff. Obviously, I was doing BD for that particular startup. Got in touch with a couple of lawyers, and they had this sort of an idea that you cannot be online. So we told them that we'd be doing this for you. We'd be putting out your hiring requirements on our platform. It was basically an ATS compliant legal tech tool that the company had made. So to them, all they could understand was, okay, you're putting us online. I don't think that's allowed. That was one thing that really irked me as to why is he saying this? Because for me, marketing within the legal industry was never a thought idea. I've never thought about it. And that conversation irked me, but I wasn't sure. He has his quirks there. I was in the mood of experimentation. So after that, I got an opportunity to work within the legal recruitment. Now, it was a different game altogether, because from legal tech to legal recruitment, the industry stays the same, but your work is very different. it one time you're just cold calling your law firms, another time you're cold calling candidates hoping that you close a candidate for a law firm. And I was also doing the BD for that particular company. However, my main work of course was recruitment. Now I won't lie, the work was fun, except I couldn't really see it turning into a long-term thing for me. Also, mainly because I felt that I had a very creative mind, a very active, proactive mind rather, who would always want to stay on top of things, strategize, give ideas. Now, I was able to do that in the legal tech startup, but I wasn't able to do that here because my work was confined to back-end research and calling and closing. So I felt, okay, I think I should again take a step back. Now, I was in my experimentation phase. My parents have always been supportive. They said, you do you, whatever you want to do. So as far as you figure it out on your own. I worked there only for 3 months. 3 months over there taught me a lot because I was client facing to the law firms right in the front. When you're a lawyer looking for a job, only one side. Now, as a recruiter, I knew the other side as well. I really wasn't sure if I wanted to do this or not, but my probation had ended and I was asked, do I want to continue? Honestly, could have, because who says no to money, right? It was a stable income for me and I was earning good. But something in me told me that if you will be here, you'll probably be stuck, because then where will your career go? You started with BD, you're at recruitment, but if this is not your true calling, why stay here? And I took the decision of leaving my job. I did not have a backup, honestly. I remember putting down my papers when I was in my hometown, and as soon as I put my papers down and said, okay, I don't think I would want to continue after probation, I went on a solo trip and I met a lot of people who were in a similar journey as mine, exploring, experimenting. I came back home after some time. I came back to Bangalore, told my father, you know what, I've quit my job. I don't know what I'm going to do. Just give me some time. He said, as far as you're earning whatever it is that you're earning, I don't care. And it's good because he made me independent in a way. For the next 6 months rather, I traveled across a lot of places in India in my backpack. I was literally living out of my backpack for quite some time. And I used to do my freelancing. So that's from where I picked up clients from LinkedIn who said they wanted me to write some content for their websites. Now, it was not just legal. It was a lot of people in the fashion industry, in the architecture side. Basically, they wanted content and I wanted something to keep me sustained money-wise. I took up projects, I was traveling, I funded my entire 6 months of traveling through whatever I could earn, and 6 months later I got a third job with a law firm in the business development department. That changed it for me because I thought maybe after leaving my second job I'll probably study more. I knew I wanted to do something in marketing and business side, but as a lawyer with a law degree, I thought maybe that was my restriction, my limit. I thought I had to study more. So I applied in a lot of universities in the UK, not for an MBA, but for an MSc in international business, because I, for once, couldn't sit and prepare for GMAT. I got into 6 universities in the UK and I shortlisted Liverpool Business School and there was Exeter. And I thought I'm going to go to either of the one, and I had accepted my offers and I was very close to submitting my lock-in fee to block your seat. I got this opportunity from a law firm and I went there for an interview thinking many which were leaving in July. I went to the interview and the managing partner said, see, you can either earn or learn, so it's either of the two. Now it depends on you. You like traveling, you of course need money. What if you're able to do that, also work facing the clients in terms of your BD role? He said you can study all you want, but the kind of exposure you will get in field is very different from what you would study for 2 years and then get a job. I took the plunge and I deferred my admission and then I joined that firm. That again changed it for me and I realized, okay, this is fun. I don't think I would want to again go to college and do that whole thing. I think I can predispose myself to a lot of things on field. Again, that was my third job. I stayed there for quite some time. It was a really fun job. Then from there on, I realized, okay, this is my thing. I think I want to stick to it because in India, legal marketing is, first of all, not marketing in the truest sense is different from advertising. So in India, advertisement for lawyers is not allowed. So, there's a very thin line between marketing and advertising.
Yeah, it's a fine line, right?
I thought,
It's a very fine
Absolutely,
line.
there is,
Yeah.
yes, it is a very fine line. At times, it could be advertising, but you need to be very vigilant with in terms of whatever you're doing. After I completed my stint at that firm, I realized I definitely want to do this because it's not so prominent in India now. There are so many firms, there are so many agencies who have lawyers doing positioning, content strategy, thought leadership, marketing, and everything. So it's great. But I think 4 5 years ago, I it was a good thing that I started doing this because now there's a lot of competition, and now it's been quite some years, and I've established myself as the person who does this. Honestly, all of it started from the pandemic. My opportunities, my jobs, and my experimentation. Realized very early on that when you're in your 40s and 50s, the depth of your experimentation decreases a little because you have a lot of responsibilities and you have a lot of things to look after. And when I had my parents back me up, I thought maybe 20s is my time to just experiment. If things go wrong, it's okay. I'm going to take my ownership. So I thought I left my law firm job thinking, I think I'm going to start on my own. Started out with this company called the X Lawyer. X in the sense I thought the X factor of a lawyer is something that I could help with. It did not go very well. It only worked for 2 months.
Were you doing marketing?
I wouldn't call it marketing. I would call it thought leadership positioning in the way where people wanted personal branding for their practice. They wanted personal branding for themselves. They wanted to show that they are legal experts, but they didn't know how to. Also, they didn't have the time to do that. So I worked with 4 to 5 lawyers in 2 firms in those 2 months. However, 2 people defaulted on payments. Despite having a proper contract with all the clients, they defaulted on payments, and one said, "You're a lawyer, come to the court and fight it out." So that I was honestly a little shook from that experience because when I've given my 300%, I expect at least 100% payment for it. I got scared. I thought, okay, I need an income. I don't think it's gonna work out like this. I thought, okay, you know what? I don't think I'm cut off for entrepreneurship. Leave it. Let me just join a job. Again, I think I'm very thankful for because it's given me the power and it's given me the confidence to actually become right now. I stayed in this agency for 2.5 years, and the kind of exposure I've gotten, I don't think I would have been a successful entrepreneur in 2022 if it wasn't for this kind of experience that I got in these 2.5 years after leaving my ex lawyer company and giving into my job again. I understood what it is that you need to pitch to clients, how you can pitch to clients. There is more to personal branding, there is PR, there are directory submissions from the legal side, and even for professional services like tax advisory companies, like your CAs, consultants, and the big fours, even the medical people, all of them require thought leadership, amplification. And those 2.5 years, I've worked at all verticals across multiple jurisdictions and gave me an exposure to so many things that after a point I realized, okay, I think I could maybe pivot and figure out things for my own right now, because if I don't do it now, I'm probably going to be in my 30s and I don't think I'll have so much time left for experimentation.
Whether it's freelancing or working for other like legal tech and legal recruitment as well as other law firms, talking about thought leadership, right? You're relatively young. And in the world of law and legal matters, a lot seems predicated on age and experience. How do you respond to this, particularly when you are speaking to clients who are probably like double your age?
Just 2 days ago, I encountered this particular problem, and I don't blame them for it. See, where you will find people who are right in their colleges writing down on their LinkedIn headlines that they're founders and experts of whatsoever, right? So there is, of course, a scope to have inhibitions about one's credibility in today's time. And I don't blame them for having it, because for somebody like me, when I compare myself to a peer of mine who has been in one job for say 6 years versus me who is had like an exposure of, I don't know, in so many ways. There are two ways to look at it. One could be where, as a recruiter, he or she could assume that I am somebody who keeps on jumping from one place to other because there's no stability. Another way to look at it is that I am open to understanding what I am fit for and where I belong. Now, it's the second category of people who actually understand what I bring to the table. And it, of course, is challenging because I am currently in my late 20s. I've worked for so many firms and so many senior lawyers and tax advisors and CAs and even medical practitioners on their personal branding front that people usually end up thinking that I'm bluffing. But it's to do with so many experiences. So the only thing that I can do is, first of all, of course, yes, I cannot show anybody the firm's names or the lawyers I've worked with, because again, not everybody wants to show to people that somebody else was into their personal branding. So the only thing that I have on me is to show through my profile. So I previously used to be very proactive, sharing my experiences, my thought processes, my opinions on things. And now I'm going to restart all of it again because people need to see that things. You don't need to necessarily give a reference to an old firm that you worked with or your old client. But that sort of confidence will come when you speak and when you tell them that this is your problem and this is how I will solve it, because that's how I solved it in my earlier stint. It's been a challenge. I am still navigating through it, honestly. But I find a great deal of boost when people assume that, okay, I may be inexperienced in the kind of work that I am pitching to do, but all of it really comes down to how they perceive me. And that's more or less lesson 101 of personal branding, of how people perceive you. So I'm actually honestly working towards mine also, along with a couple of other people right now.
Yeah. Because that definitely will come up, right? That's the elephant in the room anyway. Because
Yes.
a lot of times, and you're working in an industry where they really look at seniority. And
Yes.
I suppose they presume that the older you are, the better you are, right? Whatever it is. It doesn't really even matter whether it's branding or not, everything else. So that's why I believe that would be something that you also face. So I think it's good that we put it out in the open so we know how different industries navigate this problem, right? So now I want to ask you, how have you helped a certain client in terms of thought leadership or personal branding? Could you share an example?
There was a lawyer, a very senior lawyer of more than 3 decades of an experience, who, now this is not something that I took up independently. It was with one of my previous engagements with the company that I was associated with. His main concern was that he has this seniority that he needs to maintain, but he also needs to push his profile out there on LinkedIn. He's not sure how. And that's exactly how I knew that I can help you out. I knew that anybody with his kind of seniority would be conscious about it, because they don't want people to end up assuming that they don't have any other work. I sat with a lawyer and of course my team as well, and we thought about how could we push his profile out there, which it doesn't really look aggressive, but then it also gives him the voice that he wants, because he used to write a lot and he's authored a lot of publications. So of course it needed to be done very tactfully, very tastefully, without predisposing him to a lot of notions about his work style and etc. I explained to him how we would do it. For a boomer generation, it's difficult to understand all of these concepts of algorithm and LinkedIn and posting your story. Initially, it was challenging. He had his inhibitions. I also had my inhibitions because this was not something that was out of a playbook. It was something that I saw a problem and I thought maybe this could be a solution. All of what I suggested to him, my team suggested to him, was solely based out of my experience as somebody who's always been very active on LinkedIn. He said, okay, fine, he will help us with content, definitely. And we gave him a content calendar, told him this is how we'll do your posting in a particular time, etc. So we started off at around 4 digits of followers. And 6 months later, he crossed about 20k followers very organically, because in India you also can't boost your posts for a lawyer. So everything that we did it very organically. He provided us with whatever he could we worked on whatever we could. So that was one such story that really changed it for me, because I always thought that you need to be constantly behind the thing to make it grow. We were only engaged for 6 months. After 6 months, he was confident enough that, okay, I think I can do it on my own. I'm really not sure if he's engaged anybody else right now. Not right now. His profile is at a crossing of about 50,000 followers. And engagement, even back then, was 100 plus likes in every post. And right now, too, it's the same. So, what I've understood is, in this particular field of personal branding, you just need a push. You need somebody to handhold you in the starting. You don't need to compulsorily have somebody throughout your journey of your personal branding. Somebody who understands the platform, understands what you want, not what the algorithm wants, and then versus it to the. So this was one of the things that taught me a lot about how you can leave your client, but what you've done for the client will not leave him.
That is a fascinating story. But in that process of working with this particular client, did you have to produce the content for him? Or did he produce his content and did he post it up on his own? Or did he rely on your team?
It was solely end to end. Of course, yes, initially we did write content. The thing about personal branding is, unless and until your true self is not out there, it really dilutes with the rest of the audience. So while we were writing content, I also realized that he has his own tone of putting things out there, and that's his USP. So I wanted his perception on things. I wanted him to write because he was a great writer. So I told him, I understand you don't have that time. How about I give you certain things to write? I'll give you topics, I'll give you structure, I'll give you ideas. You write it on your own. You send it to me. I will edit and structure it in a way where it serves your purpose and it serves our purpose, our team's purpose, that we've not diluted your voice with ours. It's your voice solely. So initially what began as 100% content from our end was then his content. Of course, yes, that also gave me an idea, was that you don't also need to take full ownership about somebody's personal brand. You just need to be there as a confidant in terms of hand-holding, in terms of telling them, you can do this, you can do that. And it worked out like that for him.
That is a great way of looking at it, because some people may think, oh, personal branding, does it mean that I outsource the entire work or job to someone, and will it still sound like me? Because I think that's what people worry about, because there's the word personal in personal branding, right? It's like, I should show up as myself, but if I outsource it completely to an agency or a team that's outside of my business, it may not sound like me at all. And that is probably the biggest fear and risk that people have when they think about outsourcing personal branding. In your case, since we're talking about LinkedIn, right? What are some LinkedIn strategies that you can share if someone was thinking of, okay, I think I have a personal brand problem, and what can they do on their own? Small little wins that they can try or tweak for themselves, just to see if this is something that they would like to continue doing.
Right now, the LinkedIn algorithm keeps on changing. Many strategies also change, but something that is not changed for me, and I don't think it'll ever change, is that you carry your own USP. Nobody's defining your language, your tone, your thoughts, your perceptions. You define it yourself. Yes, the algorithm has its ways of pushing out certain posts and burying certain posts, but then that shouldn't stop anybody from sharing their experiences. So in a time like today, where everything is very easily available through AI, where even AI could even just construct a few of your perceptions without you even having to feel it ever. But as a human, there is a lot to share with the world out there. You should just go out there, and it could be about your experience in a bus, in a train, your experience of talking to somebody, your takeaway from a conversation, your experience of switching jobs, your thought process of a certain thing that has happened, you discussing something that is relevant to your profession, or you discussing something that is happening around the world. The main crux over here is your content that comes through you, through your lived experiences, through your perceptions. AI can tweak it for you, AI can't write it for you. So what I tell everybody is that the best LinkedIn strategy is for you to just go out there and write, share your thoughts. Of course, yes, the profile will not just be visible in front of everybody just like that. You also need to do a little bit of work where you're getting in touch with people relevant to your industries. You're commenting on their post also because you want to reciprocate the existence of your profile by commenting, by connecting with people, by
And having goodwill, right? Just
Yes.
commenting, sharing goodwill.
Yes, absolutely. And LinkedIn eventually sees it. There's no rocket science. People with 2K followers have gotten top voice badges, and people with 100,000 of followers don't have top voice badges. I'm really not certain as to how one is determined to get a badge, but what happens at the end of the day is that you are visible. People know you through your experiences. People resonate with your experiences. And in no time, there will be somebody who might resonate with you so much that you might get an opportunity. You might get to make a friend for life, because I found so many people through LinkedIn who are now my closest friends. And you never know where an opportunity might just land. It may be a CEO might just resonate with whatever you're posted about a certain industry, an industry perception, and they might just land up on your LinkedIn messages and say, hey, we have an opportunity for you, are you interested? This has happened with me. I've seen my clients right now get into a lot of these awards, a lot of events, solely because they were only able to share their experiences and they were visible out there. So for LinkedIn, there's no strategy as such. Of course, yes, there are strategies. I'm not going to deep dive into the technical bits of it. The first thing that starts with any strategy is content. So just write your experiences. I don't think LinkedIn is going to moral police you that way. There are people who do that, but I don't think LinkedIn as a platform has any issues with you sharing your experiences and thoughts.
Okay, and just now you mentioned AI. So AI in the legal industry, the legal landscape. How is that working out for the legal industry? So in terms of AI usage and AI adoption in the legal industry, especially in India, how is it like? And how do you feel that it is coming into the industry? Is it a positive sign? How are people using it, especially the lawyers?
The AI industry in the legal has grown by leaps and bounds only in the recent years. When I was in law school, I actually had no idea that there could be AI tools which could probably case summaries for you, etc. What I've realized is AI is definitely here to change the game. People say that AI would take your jobs. It definitely would not do that, but it would definitely replace you with somebody who knows how to use AI, because that is the differentiator in today's time. In the legal industry, there are n number of legal tech startups here in India who have embraced AI, and in turn, the law firms have also embraced AI in the best way possible, whether it is for practice management, knowledge management, information management, or whether it is for your CRMs, for BD. There are firms who are coming up with their in-house tools to take care of their day-to-day management in terms of legal knowledge, in terms of basic administrative tasks. So while there is still a certain segment of lawyers who still shun the idea of AI, there is a large volume which I guess are supportive of it. Now, with law, there is a limitation. I myself, as a lawyer and as a strategist, I understand why I'm saying this also, because when this one time we had a legal research to do, one of our interns ended up using AI, and I figured it out solely because there was one such case that was written, and I knew that I don't think this case exists. I ended up going online and googling it, and I was right. I could not find that case because it seemed very uncanny that a case would be so available that would favor your exact stance. Yes, you can use AI in your day-to-day tasks even as a lawyer, but the limitation is where, if in case you're using it for legal research, you need to cross-check it. You cannot blindly trust it, because I know that right now there are so many cases worldwide where all the matters have gone to the courts and orders have come, or even the judges have realized that this case doesn't even exist and the whole legal research is bogus. So all of this has to do with the technicality, the factual bit of law. This definitely cannot be replaced by AI. Probably in the future, definitely pro AI for anything, but with vigilance in terms legal, at least.
When you chose entrepreneurship, right? You've talked about when you were a freelancer, but you chose to start a business. What was the most unexpected resistance you faced?
This is a question that I again keep on asking myself, because one side there is a very relaxed, carefree life of a freelancer where you're only concerned with the kind of work that you're getting project by project and you're sorted. You do not need to invest your time in doing all administrative tasks that a company does when it comes to structuring, having a team, this, that. And I think this whole differentiation comes into place when I thought that I wanted to scale more to a level where people can trust me not as a single entity but also as a company. So after I left my job at the agency last year, for a very long time I was freelancing. A lot of people came to me immediately after I left my agency solely because I was a freelancer. They could do their cost cutting very efficiently because I am giving them the same work that anybody at this age and that a company does, but at probably a 30 to 40% cut of money that they would otherwise spend. So while that really sustained me for some time, I realized that while I have a brand, I want to scale it. I want to do more things for people globally. I want to work with law firms, with tax advisory firms, with CAs, consultants, everybody worldwide. And yes, there are freelancers who've gone the freelancing way, but I wanted to give myself a structure. I wanted to give myself that chance to run an organization, because honestly, in the past, every time I've worked with organizations, I've always left with a tiny little note in my head that if I had an organization, I would do things differently. So when I was at this crossroads of whether I should start running my company or I can do it on my own, what really gave me was that I have this one chance where I can do the things that I want to, run the organization the way I want to, have the team that I want to, solely if I want to. It's still transitioning, honestly, because while we have a team on board and we have clients on board, we are continuously pitching to a lot of people out there, we still are in talks with the kind of registration that I want to do for my company, because there are so many. And then you also have to look at the taxation part of it. The only thing that drove me towards running my own company instead of freelancing was the fact that I wanted to run an organization the way I want to. And freelancing could not give me that sort of a structure that I was visioning, or at least eyeing for.
That's the answer why you went from a comfortable freelancing to starting your own business and your own company.
Yeah. Also in freelancing, I had an imposter syndrome where I used to do a lot of work, and honestly, I still do have an imposter syndrome. Right before the podcast, I was thinking, why am I featured here? So this imposter syndrome has always been there. But the only thing that drove me was that if I'm in freelancing, I'm comfortable. I thought to myself that maybe my freelancing could limit me. This is what I felt, and that's why I've taken this very uncertain, unpredictable route of having my own company and seeing how things run here. Do you think you're going to be like the next big thing in the next 5 years? Honestly, with so many things changing almost every day, I don't know. But what I know is that at least I will show it to myself that, okay, I can run something, I know how to run it, and I've always had ideas. Now I can actually implement those ideas in the best possible way that I want to.
Which also leads me to this question. What is that one key piece of advice that you have for women who feel overqualified and underconfident in starting a business of their own? And what's their first step?
This answer will be very close to me because I've felt it. For somebody like me who's done so many things in the personal branding front and now through my company, Closplay, what I've understood and realized is there is always going to be a sect of people who will think that you're overqualified. Because again, imposter syndrome comes in. You also think that maybe you're not worth it, or maybe this is not your thing. But what really keeps anybody going in today's time is their confidence in themselves and telling them that you can do it. You have nothing to lose. If not today, then when? My advice to anybody who thinks that they're overqualified and underconfident would be, see yourself as somebody who can run things. I've seen myself when I used to have jobs. There was always that thing missing. I was not driven. Had I been asked this question earlier in my early 20s, I probably would not have understood this entire thing of why there is conversations about women entrepreneurs, women leaders, etc. However, in all these years, I've realized if you don't value yourself, the other person will not see value in you. You will have to stand your ground, because if today you don't, somebody else will. And finally, coming out of my own experience, I was interviewed at a firm after I left my job with the agency solely because they thought I was desperate for a job, and I turned it down because they said that they wouldn't give me more than 5% hike because they thought that whatever I've done so far wasn't valuable to them. And it's then that I realized that I can have a full-fledged job, I can get money, but what I would not have is my value there because they don't see me in the way that I see myself. I put my foot down and I said, no, I have to start valuing myself, because if you don't, then nobody will. So every time that anybody feels that, okay, I don't think I can do it, why will anybody hire me, or they have inhibitions, they have to understand that if you don't, then nobody will. So you eventually have to. I'd keep on telling myself that you are good. You will eventually get there. You will get to work with people on their personal branding front. You will be able to get people out there, get them visible. But you need to start seeing yourself as one. Only then will people start respecting you and seeing you as their counterpart instead of somebody unequal.
So that really is food for thought, right? Because a lot of women out there probably feel that way. Maybe they feel overqualified, but sometimes also they feel underqualified. As you said, some people feel that they don't qualify to get that job, or they don't qualify to get that role, or even they don't deserve to start their business. And as we know, everything is risky in life, right? Everything. It's not just starting a business that's risky. Everything else is having a job is risky these days. You may be retrenched. So there's really no real safety these days. So if you could define Closplay in one word, what would it be?
Closplay would actually be, I think, if I could do it in 2 words instead of one, would be thought leadership amplification. Because we're in an era where people come with expertise, but it's lost in the noise that's out there. And for a person who has a lot of work in terms of their expertise, will not have the time to think where I could position myself, where I could be visible, and what I should do to not, of course, aggressively sell myself. But in today's time, everybody wants to be known. Everybody wants to be Googled. So how do I do that? That's where we step in, and hence that's why I said thought leadership amplification, because whether it's through PR, media, events, speaker opportunities, awards, LinkedIn as a social media platform, or through any other social media platforms, right now through Closplay, the end goal here is to let people know that we exist to help you climb up the ladder, so you don't have to climb it up yourself. Because it's a struggle to even craft out a strategy for yourself in terms of what content you want to put out there. You have things to share, but you do not know how, and you do not know where, which platforms are best for you in terms of amplification of your perceptions, your opinions. That's pretty much what we are all about. We're all about thought leadership amplification in the professional services space, because you have people who are experts in their fields, but the internet doesn't agree with it because they're not out there. So that's
They're
the
not
gap.
Googleable.
Yeah, so that's the gap that I saw.
Finally, Bhavya, we've had such a great conversation about, we went from your journey of how you began with studying law and then you graduated, but the pandemic wasn't very kind to you in terms of a job search. You couldn't find the role that you wanted, and that led you down multiple paths: legal tech, legal recruitment, agency, where you really saw a broad scope of work that is available, but not being a lawyer. So that was the interesting path that you took. When you look back into your past and you think that was not the way you envisioned your career, but maybe that was supposed to be the career. It's just that now that we have talked about your work and what you do for your clients, and really it is thought leadership amplification, where can people find you online?
There's definitely LinkedIn. You can write my full name, Bhavya Bhatt, and you will find me on LinkedIn. You can connect with me there. You can also find me and my team through our website, which is clauseplay.com. For now, you can find me on our website, on LinkedIn, and if you Google me, you can find a lot of other things about me wherever I've shared my experiences.
I will definitely love to see what other things you have in store in the coming future.
All right, thank you so much.
Bhavya's story is a reminder that your journey may be a series of twists and turns, but every experience adds up, and your unique experiences are your superpower. Bhavya reminds us that personal branding isn't about chasing trends, but about sharing moments you learn from, the decisions you made, and the perspectives you hold. Here's my question to you. What is one lived experience that you're ready to articulate or share with your friends or your circle this week? If you love this episode and know of someone who could benefit from this honest conversation, do share this episode with them. Plus, I'd love for you to subscribe to our Womenpreneur Asia email list for more practical inspiration and behind-the-scenes updates. This is Krista Gun, and I will see you next Friday for more conversations with women entrepreneurs across Asia.